Welcome, everyone. I'm Bruce Karasik, the co-founder of the Jewish Republican Alliance. I'm so glad you could all join us today. We're very excited to have Brandon Straka, founder of the WalkAway campaign. I actually met Brandon about 14 months ago at Joy Villa's birthday party. And since then, we've become good friends. Brandon is a fabulous person with a great reputation, and I have so much respect for the work that Brandon is doing. Just really proud of him and excited to have him on this call today.
Nice.
Last year, I watched an Amazon original series called The Man in the High Castle. The premise of the show was what would have happened if the Japanese and the Germans had won World War II and America and the Allies had lost. And one of the more shocking scenes in the show was when the Germans, now occupying 50% of the United States, decided that they wanted to create a movement called Year Zero, where all the history and monuments in the US were to be destroyed and America could be re-educated to accept defeat and learn to like it. In one episode, they actually show the Statue of Liberty being destroyed. And in the show, all freedom and liberty were taken away, and the values that America stood for were just being erased. And as I watched this show in absolute horror, little did I know that the left in America would be trying to do the exact same thing today. Does it sound familiar? Erasing history, destroying monuments, burning things, statues are being removed by mob rule, liberty and freedom are being destroyed, mob violence, and anyone who dares disagree with them are shamed, even if they're silent. And we watch now as the police are being forced to turn their backs as violence plays out on our streets. And even people who are trapped in cars, when they call 911, are being told, we cannot help you, call City Hall. And they said the police cannot do anything anymore. You know, everything that brave men and women have fought and died for is being trampled by the left. And so we're calling on President Trump to take action now and save the nation, just as Abraham Lincoln did during the Civil War. The time has come for those who believe in law and order to speak out and do your part. My friends, we can no longer be the silent majority. We must be vocal, and the JRA will continue to speak out. And if you would, imagine this, imagine what it would be like to have Biden, Pelosi, and Schumer running the nation. Well, that could happen. We don't want that to happen. And for the sake of our great nation, we cannot let that happen. So welcome, everybody. I'm glad you're all here today. And I want to introduce fellow co-founder, Mitch Silberman. Mitch?
Hello, JRA community. So exciting for us all to be together again. Many of you are familiar with the founding of the Jewish Republican Alliance. A handful of us got together in March of 2016. We wondered, are we the only Jewish Republicans in California? So a handful of us met at a nondescript restaurant in the back room where we couldn't be found and closed the door. And we went around the table and we kvetched. Actually, what we did is we shared stories of how wonderful it is to be a Jewish Republican in California, especially amongst friends and families. Anyway, we had a good time. It was very cathartic. It was good to know that we weren't alone. So we said, should we meet again? Why not? The following month, there was 30, then there was 40, then there were 60. And as many of you know, we had multiple chapters. We had requests from literally all over the country and sometimes out of the country to open Jewish Republican Alliance chapters. And of course, the highlights, we had these big, incredible events. In fact, on several occasions, we had the largest single gathering at a Jewish Republican event in United States history. Many of you were there. Dennis Prager spoke to us, about 1,200 people were there. Then we had Ben Shapiro, the sage Larry Elder, our guest for next week. Earlier this year, we had Candace Owens. And the JRA exists to unite and energize conservatives to take positive action on behalf of America and Israel. You need to know you are not alone. Listen, in 2016, we were scared to speak out then. And by today's standards, it was tame back then. But even back then, we felt intimidated. And as Bruce said, we can't be silent any longer. There was too much at stake. And Brandon, who's going to be speaking to us today, I'll share with you that a couple of years ago when he launched his very first video, my wife, Stephanie, pulled me aside and said, come here, you need to watch this. He is going to be big. I don't know if Brandon himself knew how big and how significant his movement was going to be, but he is not alone. You are not alone. We are not alone. And now more than ever, conservative activism is needed to save and preserve the Judeo-Christian values upon which our beloved country was founded. And I'm going to leave you with a fun story. An out-of-towner drove his car into a ditch in a desolated area. Luckily, a local farmer came by to help him with a strong horse named Buddy. He hitched Buddy up to the car and yelled, "Pull, Nellie, pull!" But Buddy didn't move. Then the farmer hollered, "Pull, Buster, pull!" But again, Buddy didn't respond. Once more, the farmer commanded, "Pull, Coco, pull!" Nothing. Then the farmer nonchalantly said, "Pull, Buddy, pull." And just like that, the horse easily dragged the car out of the ditch. The motorist was, of course, very appreciative, but also curious. So he asked the farmer why he called his horse by the wrong name 3 times. And the farmer said, "Well, Buddy is blind, and if he thought he was the only one pulling, he wouldn't even try." Well, you are not alone. You must try. Now more than ever, your energy, your enthusiasm, your volunteering, everything is needed now, all hands on deck, because you do make a difference, you do matter. And in terms of making a difference, I have the distinct honor of introducing Brandon. We saw him in person, I think, at Ben Shapiro's event last year, and he was fantastic to be with. He's very authentic. He's the real thing. I'll give you a very quick introduction. As many of you know, he's the founder of the WalkAway campaign, a former liberal and a former Democratic Party supporter who has very publicly walked away from the political left and created a huge social movement encouraging others to do the same. Brandon, we are so thrilled to have you with us today. And Bruce, I know you have a couple of questions for Brandon.
Hey, Brandon, how are you?
I'm doing great. Thank you so much. Thank you for the introduction, and thank you to all of you for having me. And thank you to all of those who are watching today. It's great to be here.
Oh, thank you. You know, I wonder if you could tell, a lot of people know who you are, but maybe there's some who don't. I wonder if you could tell our audience a little bit about your story, how you were once a Democrat and you decided to walk away, but not only walk away, you decided to create a national movement. So can you tell us a little bit about how that all manifested?
Yes. So the fact that I decided to create a movement was directly tied in to why I became a liberal in the first place. It actually kind of is a full circle thing. I became a liberal as a teenager. I think around the time that I started to become aware of things like injustice in the world. Bruce, is my signal okay?
Yeah, you look great.
Okay. Just I'm coming to everybody from a hotel room in Nebraska. It's actually my high school reunion today. So I flew back to Nebraska and I'm on my cell phone right now. So anyway, so I started identifying as a liberal as a teenager. And I did so because, I've always been against racism, against injustice, against bigotry, against homophobia, against hatred of any kind. And so the messaging that I received so clearly from the majority, I'd say, of the marketing powers that exist in this world, which is to say the liberal media, the entertainment industry, academia, I mean, just about anywhere where we receive any sort of messaging on a large scale, the messaging that I got time and again was that Democrats and liberals are the people who care about marginalized communities, who care about disenfranchised people, who care about sort of the underdogs and the working class people, and that Republicans are all greedy, self-interested, straight white men, basically, who only care about other greedy, self-interested, straight white men. And, I knew from a pretty early age that I was gay. And so that very much also tied into why I felt the way that I felt. Because, I grew up in Nebraska in a tiny little town in the 80s and the 90s. And it was kind of, the height of the AIDS crisis, and homophobia was very rampant in particularly in the community where I grew up. And so I experienced a lot of that growing up, and it was something that I found very frightening. And so that's why I found myself in a very liberal and Democrat camp. And then when I graduated from high school and I went out on my own into the world, I moved to New York City And you know, my aspiration at that time was to be an actor and be a singer. I wanted to perform. And it's really interesting because one of the main reasons why I actually wanted to be a performer in the first place was not just because I actually loved performing, but because I wanted to be able to elevate myself to a point where I had a voice, and I wanted to use my voice to help other people. I wanted to, you know, as we see a lot of people in the entertainment industry use their celebrity to take up for, well, usually very liberal causes. But that's something that I wanted to do, was to sort of elevate myself to a point where I felt like I could fight for people who experience injustice. And so if we flash forward to 2016, I was totally behind Hillary Clinton. I was very excited about voting for the first woman president. And the media that I trusted so much, which was CNN, MSNBC, the New York Times, the Huffington Post, Vice, Rachel Maddow, Don Lemon, Anderson Cooper, they kept telling me that Donald Trump was a racist, a bigot, a homophobe, a horrible human being, and that Hillary Clinton deserved to win because she was the most prepared candidate that had ever run for president. And in my mind, it was a great thing because we had just come off of 8 years of a scandal-free presidency from Barack Obama. And so, you know, a Hillary Clinton presidency would be an extension of his flawless, infallible legacy, which is exactly what I felt like we needed. So on election day in 2016, I voted for Hillary Clinton. And the Huffington Post promised me that Donald Trump had a less than 3% chance of winning. So as that election day progressed on November 6th, 7th, 9th, now I can't remember, 2016, 8th maybe, as that day progressed, you know, it just became increasingly shocking and confusing what was happening in the world. And then, you know, by the next day when it was clear that Donald Trump had won, I was devastated, shattered, and completely confused because, you know, again, the media that I trusted promised me that there's no chance that he would win, but they also convinced me that he was literally the most hateful person to ever run for president. So this put me in a position to try to understand two things. One, how did the media get it so wrong? And two, why would anyone ever vote for this person? You know, I already had a very low opinion of Republicans, but I didn't think that they were that horrible, you know? But so I went on a quest to try to understand how Donald Trump won. And it began with researching those two things. How did the media get it so wrong, and why would anyone vote for Donald Trump? And after months of researching these things, what I discovered was that the media was completely duplicitous and dishonest in their portrayal of who Donald Trump was and who his supporters were. You know, and I went back to the beginning of the campaign, and I started researching, you know, did he really call all Mexicans rapists? Did he really advocate for, you know, being able to sexually assault women? Did he really mock a reporter's disability? And what I found out time and time and time again was that none of these things were actually true. They were media manipulations that were spun out of context with their own false narrative behind them. And long story short, this brings us back to what I said at the very beginning. The thing that I discovered so many things, and my world got turned upside down because everything I ever believed in was starting to unravel. But the thing that disturbed me the most was the discovery that if you are Black or brown or LGBT or Jewish or a woman, if you are a minority in this country of any kind, we are being lied to, manipulated, exploited, and used by the liberal media, by the Democratic Party, and by the ideology of liberalism at large, which is completely toxic. They are intentionally making us believe that we are hunted, that we are unwanted, that we are in danger, that we exist in an oppressive country, in an oppressive atmosphere from which we cannot break free or succeed. And that was the moment that I decided it's not enough for me to just walk away from the Democratic Party and liberalism. I want to actually fight back against this complex, which is creating so much division, so much hatred. It's isolating people into groups. It's making minorities believe that they are disempowered. And it's pitting groups of people against each other when they need not be. And so that's when I decided to create a movement, and I created this hashtag WalkAway. I made a 6-minute video in which I detailed all the reasons why I was walking away from the left, and then I encouraged other people to make their own testimonials and tell their own stories about why they too were feeling pushed away from the left, pushed away from the Democratic Party, and to also, for conservatives, for what we call the hashtag WalkWith, to make your testimonials and tell your stories about why you're a conservative or why you're a Republican. Reclaim the narrative from the liberal left, from the liberal media, that it's not about bigotry, it's not about hatred, homophobia, Islamophobia, whatever, that there are very compassionate and kind reasons for wanting to be a conservative. And so that's why I created the movement, and I think that it was something sorely needed, and this is why we saw such an explosion. Because one last thing I'll say, sorry, I know this is a very long answer, I won't go on this long with my other questions, but so many people, I think, may not realize, because conservatism is very different than liberalism. Conservatives can have disagreements with one another. Conservatives can share a respectful and civil relationship with each other while also not agreeing maybe on every single issue. With liberals, it is a very cult-like atmosphere. And so if you start disagreeing with the ideology, you put yourself in a position where you're probably going to lose friends, family, job opportunities, you name it. And when I walked away from the Democratic Party, I lost literally more than 90% of my friends. And so I saw such a need to build this community so that people would know that when if they too feel that they need to walk away, that they're not going to walk into a chasm of emptiness and nothingness, that now there's this movement and this community of support, so no one will ever have to be alone again if they choose to walk away from the Democratic Party.
Wow, Brandon, that was fantastic. I love it. So authentic, so exciting. What would you say has been, on this amazing journey you've been on so far, Brandon, what has been your biggest surprise?
My biggest surprise? I think my biggest surprise has been, well, I think that I've been very surprised to find out that conservatives are not as uptight as I thought that they were. When I first launched WalkAway, I felt this real need to sort of put a public face forward that was a little bit more diplomatic, I think, because I thought, well, you know, I have to really watch what I say, and I have to really watch the way I behave. But what I found is that, you know, conservatives are just people like anybody else. And I've received an enormous amount of support, which I didn't expect. I've received so much love from not just coast to coast in this country, but around the world, from people. I hear from people in countries around the world supporting me. And I think that I've been surprised to find out that I could really just be myself. You know, sometimes I don't have the cleanest mouth in the world. sometimes I, you know, some of my opinions are a little bit edgy. And I was afraid, I think, at first to really express everything that, you know, I always thought. But, you know, sometimes people say, hey, you know, didn't really love what you said the other day, but still behind you. And that's been really cool. It's been cool to find out that I really could just really be myself, and that people would support me and support the mission, because I think they think it's really important.
Brandon, I've got a question. Talk to us a little bit about the growth and the excitement that is taking place with the WalkAway campaign right now. I'm hearing so many great things that you're just exploding, and I'd like to know, tell the audience about that, and what do you think you can attribute that to?
Yeah, well, it's been the most amazing couple of months recently that we've had in a long time. I mean, I'm always excited by everything that happens with WalkAway, even if it's kind of a slower time. And, you know, and we've never had like a slow time. I mean, there's always thousands of people that are joining, you know, within a month or so. But in the last 3 weeks, we have had close to 30,000 people join the movement. Actually, it may be more than 30,000 people now. And I think that it could clearly be attributed to the incredible amount of violence and disruption that we're seeing right now on the left, which is really, really, really scary. And, you know, I walked away in 2017. And when I walked away in 2017, the left, was too extreme for me back then. And this is almost unrecognizable compared to what they were in 2017. But I think it's a very clear indication of something that I've been saying a lot recently, which is that there is no finish line with liberals. There is no end goal. Every time we push up against a goalpost, it will be moved back again and again and again, because nothing is ever enough. There's no such thing as the end with these people. And so, you know, they might say, well, we need to tear all the statues down. And, you know, and then if we tear all the statues down, then that'll be enough. That's not true. The next thing they're going to do is start trying to change religion. They're going to start trying to say that there's problems with what you believe, what your religious beliefs are, with other aspects of history. They want to completely destroy and decimate everything. Just like you were saying, Bruce, from that TV show, The Man in the High Tower. I don't even think that they still won't, even if we were to burn everything that we had to the ground and start again, there's no common philosophy with these people. It's not like they say, okay, we'll burn it all down and now this is what we believe in. They don't know. They don't believe in anything. They only believe in destruction. So when we get to the point that there's nothing left to destroy, what then? And so I think that people are starting to see this more and more and more. I think people are realizing, wow, I became a liberal or I became a Democrat because I thought that I was helping other people. I thought I was helping Black people. I thought I was helping the LGBT community. I thought I was helping disenfranchised people. But it's not about helping or lifting up anybody or anything. It's about destruction, period, destroying. And I think people are really getting that now with the extremity of the violence that we're seeing. And I think that's the most contributing factor to why we're seeing the surge in the movement right now. And I even conducted a poll in the group about a week ago saying that for everyone who's just joined us within the last month, was it because of all of the violence and destruction that we're seeing right now? And it was something like 45% said that that was the reason why they joined within the last month. Others, the ones who did not say that, basically said that was a contributing factor, but that they've been feeling uncomfortable and pushed away for a while now, including the way that the shutdown, coronavirus shutdown was being handled, that the government is really overreaching in terms of closing down the economy, and that I think that the Mueller report being a big farce was another factor.
You know, Brandon, you have a very unique perspective with all the people you interact with and all the travels. What would you say is the toughest challenge you think our country is facing right now?
The media. I mean, 100%. We more than 90% of our media is in cahoots with this propagandistic narrative to support the Democrats and this progressive ideology. I mean, I don't think that I'm saying anything revolutionary here, but they hate the president. They hate you. They hate me. They hate everyone on this call. And they control the lion's share of the messaging of everything that goes out there. And we can't deny anymore how powerful their influence is over people. Thankfully, I don't believe the majority of the people fall for their crap, but the people who do fall for their crap have fallen so hard that it's made them literally insane. I mean, we watch videos now of a lot of these very brainwashed people going out and committing acts of violence, and even the ones who are not committing acts of violence but are, you know, shutting parts of cities down and protesting for Black Lives Matter. They can't even be reasoned with, a lot of these people. You start presenting them with facts and data and information that's truthful about, you know, statistics within the police department, how many Black people actually do face, let's be clear, Black criminals who actually do face violence from police, incredibly low numbers. And when you start presenting them with this information, it's like the, one of those cartoons where the birds start circling over their heads. They go crazy because it's a cult-like brainwashing atmosphere. And I think undoing all of the damage that the media has done to people's minds may take generations. And there's some people that will never be able to be helped. They're too far gone. But it's really scary to know that what is supposed to be just a fact providing institution, a news source, is actually intentionally responsible for brainwashing people in this country and making them behave in ways that are completely deranged.
Yeah, they become, instead of journalists, they become activists, and it's pretty scary to watch that. The other day when President Trump was speaking in Tulsa for his first rally in a while, we're at home watching it on TV, and I'm looking in the crowd, and I see Brendan and Melissa sitting there, his great assistant Melissa, sitting there, at the rally, having a great time. So I freeze the picture and I take a snapshot and text it to them. And the next thing I know, I see, Vice President Pence coming over to them and waving, and everybody parading, and saying hello to them. And it was great. So
it's really cool.
It was really cool to watch you doing it. Anyway, what are your thoughts on now 2 years or 3 years from being on the left to being, a conservative in a lot of ways? What are your thoughts on how President Trump is doing?
Well, I think President Trump is doing an amazing job on many fronts. Let me answer that question in two answers. The first is pre-COVID. The second is post-COVID. Pre-COVID, I feel like his record was nearly flawless. I think the economy spoke for itself. I think that the minority community's thriving spoke for itself. I think the way that, fighting for our border security, for our military, item after item after item, I think total success. And, to me, he's the greatest president of my lifetime. Post-COVID, I'm not going to lie, I've had some issues. There are days I really struggle. And my hope is that there are things in this world that I just don't understand yet. But I do, I wish that there was more messaging right now. Okay, well, I'll tell you. So this coming Thursday, I'm actually doing a virtual event on my Facebook page at Brandon Straka. And I hope that everyone watching will attend this virtual event. But it's with Laura Trump. And we're calling it Hope Triumphs, America's Coming Back. And the whole purpose of the event is to do something really uplifting, really positive, and get people feeling assured again, reassured, get them feeling positive, get them feeling optimistic. I wish that there was more messaging right now coming from the president about how things are going to be okay. I wish he was addressing more the violence and destruction that we're seeing in this country, because I don't think that any of us have ever seen anything like this before. I sure haven't. And I do trust him, and I do think that he knows what he's doing, but I don't like that so many of us have been left to feel so uneasy for so long, because to be honest with you, I don't 100% understand the plan right now. And I do believe that there is one. I do believe he knows what he's doing, but I wish that for those of us who are so loyal to him, I wish he would talk to us more about what the plan is, because people are messaging me on a regular basis going, what's going on? What's going on? I'm so worried. I'm so concerned. And that's, I mean, I'm just being honest with you, because I don't want to be a President Trump bootlicker. I mean, I think that part of being a good citizen is also criticizing when the president deserves to be criticized. And I don't think he's done a great job in the last couple of months of making us feel as assured as we could feel that things are going to be okay, because this is a very, very, very dark time. He hasn't lost my vote by any means. I can't wait to vote for President Trump, and I totally support him. But for those of us who are so loyal, I think that he could be doing a better job at making us feel at ease during such a dark time.
Are you referring to the virus or the violence?
Both. Because I think, as you know, so many people, there's still areas that are totally shut down, people who are still not getting their paychecks. And, you know, I think I would like less messaging at this point about what a great job he did early on, you know, banning travel and stuff, and more messaging about, this is why we're going to be okay. Here's the plan we're going to get you guys back on track. This is why I want you guys not to worry. This is what I would like more of, because I think people are really, really worried, and understandably so. And again, this is not normal. I mean, nothing that we're experiencing right now is normal. And so I guess that's the point. Since we're experiencing something so abnormal, I think that the messaging right now should address that abnormality more. That's my opinion.
I agree with you.
Very fair. Brandon, your insight is so fascinating. We're getting great questions that some of them you're answering as you go, but I want to ask some from our audience. First of all, we have a great question from Mark Whitauer of Web Security Pro. I have to give him a plug. He is fantastic. He's doing this great job for us today. My wife and I were on a webinar last night, and it was a disaster. And I turned to her and I said, "That's why we need Mark Whitauer to do these for us. He's fantastic." So Mark gets a great, powerful question for you, Brandon.
Okay.
I'll just read it to you. Getting lefties to change their mind is difficult, if not impossible. What do you find to be the best thing to say to lefties to plant just a tiny bit of doubt to get them to at least reconsider their position?
Yeah, that's one of the questions I get asked most often. And I'll tell you, okay, so for anybody who watched my original 6-minute video, and I don't expect people to have it memorized, but for anyone who might remember, I opened that video by listing kind of a checklist of reasons why I became a liberal. I say things like, I staunchly reject racism of any kind. I reject judging people based off of their sexual orientation. It's a whole checklist of things. And the reason why I did that in that video is because, as a former liberal, I know that liberals believe that they hold the complete and total monopoly on compassion, on kindness, on caring about other people who are oppressed or marginalized, or however they themselves might view it. And they believe that Republicans are heartless, and they believe that conservatives don't care about other people. So what I think is a very effective strategy when dealing with a liberal, and it's two things actually. The first is to enter into a conversation, maybe not so much with the intention of winning or winning an argument. Sometimes it's impossible, and I fail at that myself, because when your emotions get involved and you just reach your breaking point and you're so pissed off because the person's acting like such an a-hole and you can't take it anymore, and then you're just like, okay, now I just want to win. Now I just want to completely wreck you, with this. I get it. But for the times where you're not that far along and you're actually trying to have a productive conversation with somebody, I think that a very effective strategy is to establish mutual core values with the other person and explain to them that your positions as a conservative are actually based in compassion and caring for other people, including the very groups of people that they themselves claim to care about. And this would be an example. If you said, listen, as a conservative, I worry a lot about my fellow Americans who are Black and Hispanic, low-income Americans. I care about them so much, in fact, that this is the reason why I'm so staunchly for strong border security, and I'm against illegal immigration. Because did you know that illegal immigration most disproportionately affects low-income Black and low-income Hispanic Americans? It's actually those groups who suffer the most when we allow illegal immigrants to come into this country and when we don't have strong border security. So if we really care about, Black Americans and Hispanic Americans, it's actually the exact opposite of compassionate, to say, well, let's just let anybody, as many people come into this country as we want to, because those people are going to be without a job and unable to take care of their families. So I think that there are ways like that where you can present conservative values in a way that actually appeals to their notion of caring about marginalized communities, that I think is very effective, because once they see that the basis of these opinions actually revolves around that very thing that they claim that they care about, then I think that they can't really come at you and be like, well, you're a racist, well, you're a bigot, I'm the only one who cares about these groups. Well, no, you're not. And statistics and information actually back me up that what I believe in actually is the most compassionate thing for these very groups of people. And then the other thing that I would say too is what ended up changing me, for anyone who doesn't know, is that, in January of 2017, I went on Facebook. This was, after Trump got elected, and I was devastated, and I, was kind of on my journey. I posted in January of 2017 that I would never be able to understand how anyone could vote for a man who was capable of standing before a cheering crowd and mocking a reporter's disability, as the media said that he did. And that's when a woman who has known me my whole life reached out to me privately on Facebook with a video entitled "Debunking that Trump Mocked the Disabled Reporter." And for anyone who's never seen it, it's basically a compilation of footage showing that Donald Trump doing that same voice and that same gesture as he did that day at his rally when he was accused of mocking a reporter's disability. But what it shows very clearly was that this is something that Donald Trump has done for years when he's imitating anybody who's flailing because they're caught in a lie or doing something shady or doing something that had nothing to do with that reporter's disability. And when I watched it, I had to actually watch it 4 times before I could process, because the first time I watched it, I was like, oh my God, I don't think that he mocked that reporter's disability. But I still was having trouble justifying, because I was like, yeah, but I hate him. I hate him and I don't want to stop hating him. And so I had to watch it 4 times before I could officially, be like, wow, he actually didn't do that thing that I believe that he did. But then it took probably weeks before I was able to actually kind of go back to the person who sent it to me and be like, okay, I think I was wrong about that. I'm having a little trouble understanding what this means. But the point is that she allowed me that space to not feel confronted. Nobody likes to admit that they're wrong. Nobody likes to eat crow and, and be like, oh, I just acted like a total jerk and I was wrong. And so I think it's very effective actually to find a compelling article, find a compelling video, find some compelling media, something from the internet, send it to a friend, send it to a family member, and don't do it in an accusatory way. Don't be like, read this and see how wrong you are. Send it to them and say, hey, I really value your opinion, and I know that you and I don't see eye to eye on this. Will you just read this or take a look at this and let me know your thoughts? And just allow them that space to watch it, to read it, and not feel like you're trying to shove down their throat that they're wrong. And I think that you'll actually find that it's a very effective way of opening a door for conversation.
Well, that's great. Brandon, when we first met, I invited you to come to the event that we had with Ben Shapiro. Talk a little bit about, how you felt being there. You flew out from New York with your assistant, Melissa. It was great. And you were in the VIP, and we had 1,200 enthusiastic. Talk a little bit about the JRA, that event, and how you feel about our organization.
I love the JRA very, very much. And I love you, Bruce, very much. I've really enjoyed my friendship with you since we met at Joy Vito's birthday party. And you and I have shared many phone calls and many emails and texts. And so, I think the world of you as an individual. Yes, you very graciously invited me to come as a VIP guest to Ben Shapiro, your Ben Shapiro event. And first of all, it was really, it was the first and only time I've actually met Ben Shapiro. So I got to meet him briefly backstage, which was really cool. You gave me kind of a shout out at the event, and I stood up and got a rousing round of applause from everybody there, which felt amazing. Of all the events that I've done, that was one of the largest. I think your group and a group called Club 45 in Florida attract the biggest audiences, which I think is, and it's so great to see that level of involvement and turnout. And I can't stress that enough. And that's something I love about your group, is that they actually show up and they actually get involved. Because, you know, Melissa can tell you too, my whole team can tell you, and it's not just us, it's not just WalkAway. We've gotten our hearts broken many times because we put so much thought and energy and effort into everything that we do. These events that we plan around the country, every last detail, every last thing. And it's not unusual. We've actually come to realize that 1/3 of the people who sign up actually show up. And that was a very hard lesson for us to learn, because at first we were doing these events and 500 people would sign up. So we would go out and rent out a 500-seat theater or auditorium or whatever, and then 150 to 200 people would show up. And we were just like, what the hell? And what we ultimately realized was, unfortunately, and this is something that we're going to work really hard at as much as we can, but it's not that there's a lack of, I don't think it's a lack of care or lack of concern. We do these events, and then we're flooded with messages after our events from people saying, I really wanted to come, but I got scared. I heard that Antifa was going to be there. I heard that there were going to be protesters. I heard, and I'm like, and by the way, it almost never happens. I mean, even if Antifa does show up, Antifa has showed up to 2 or 3 of our events. It's never been a big deal. We always hire security. We usually have bikers for Trump. Half the time you don't even know that they're there because we have security that doesn't even let them get within a block or 2 of the event. It's just, but it's like, my God, the level of, I can't think of any other nicer word besides cowardliness that so many conservatives display when it comes to participating and showing up for stuff. And, you know, President Trump, you know, just had his rally a week ago in Tulsa, and it was a wonderful event, amazing energy, amazing turnout, but there should not have been an empty seat in that arena. There should not. This was his first rally in months, and there is no excuse for there being a single empty seat in that arena. But what happened? People, oh, well, we heard Black Lives Matter was going to be there. We heard, you know, that who cares? Who cares? And, you know, people sit around, they wonder, well, you know, why has the left been able to take over everything? Why does the left, why are they allowed to go out and riot and pull down statues? Because you guys don't fight back, because they know they can get away with it, because people don't show up. And so that's why I'm really, I'm fond of your group, and I'm really inspired by your group, because to be able to do events and get 1,000 people, 1,100, 1,200 people to show up is almost unheard of in the conservative movement. So a big way to go to you guys, because you're doing what so many conservatives are not doing. You're participating, you're showing up, you're standing up, and not enough conservatives are doing that. So way to go, you guys.
Thanks, Brandon.
Brandon,
Yeah.
thank you. Thank you so
Yes.
much for your kind words. I often tell Bruce, when all is said and done, more is said than done. When we had Candace Owens at March 11th here in the San Fernando Valley, poor Bruce was bombarded with questions and emails and phone calls and texts that, you know, aren't you going to cancel? It's the coronavirus. You have to cancel. You're going to postpone it. And we looked at each other and we just said, we have to do this. And it was very gratifying. It was more important than ever. Bruce made a great speech as always about how important it was that we got together at the height of the pandemic and showed that we aren't afraid. And it was a fantastic event. So Brandon, we've got about 9 minutes left. There are so many amazing questions people have.
Sure.
I'm going to shoot one at you. There's one from Ed S. Do you think the silent majority is dramatically growing during this violent period?
That's a tricky question. Yes, but I hope that they don't stay silent. I think that more people are moving to the center. I know more people are moving to the center. I know more people are moving to the right, from center, from the left, and to the right. But guys, we shouldn't hope that the silent majority is growing. We should hope that the silent majority is becoming unsilent. And that's another thing that I've been saying for 2 years, that it's time for the silent majority to become unsilent, which is why, by the way, shameless plug, on October 3rd in Washington, D.C., we are hosting the Unsilent Majority March on Washington. Please go to unsilentmarch.com to get more information. But we should not be hoping that more people are joining a silent movement. We should be hoping that more people are waking up to common sense and practical values that we share, and that they're going to stand up, show up, and fight back.
Excellent.
Unsilentmarch.com, is that what you were saying?
Unsilentmarch.com.
Okay. Let's see, there's a lot. So tell me a little bit, what are your friends and your family and people you know intimately, how have they reacted to you being on the evil side of conservatives?
Well, the majority of my family has been okay. My parents, I think, they're conservatives. So I think that they think that this is all very cool. I have a sister-in-law who is absolutely Trump deranged. And so we no longer speak. And the rest of my family, it's split, you know, like aunts and uncles and stuff. Some of my aunts and uncles who are more conservative think it's amazing. The other ones, I don't hear from that often anymore. In terms of friends, that was like a total tear down and start over situation. I'm not exaggerating when I say, at this point, I'd say 95% are gone. Of, you know, my life before 2017, or excuse me, post 2017, I probably have 5 friends that I had before who still support me or talk to me or you know, want anything to do with me. And it's not, I mean, and it's really nasty, by the way, really, really nasty. Some of them are, you know, some of them are people that I've known for 20, 30 years and shared birthdays and milestones and amazing experiences with. And the things that they have said to me, I mean, I've literally said to them, you know, someday Donald Trump will not be the president. One way, even if he gets a second term, someday he's not going to be the president anymore. And how do you think you're ever going to fix this with me? I mean, there are people who have said things to me that you shouldn't say to someone unless maybe you murdered their mother. And they have said this to me, and they've said this to me because I now support Trump. And I'm just like, how do you ever expect to fix this after what you've said or what you've done? I mean, it's astounding to me. But no, it's pretty much all of the friends I have in my life now are people that have become my friends since I started WalkAway.
Terrific. Miranda, we have so many questions, but we're getting ready to wrap up. So the quicker, you know, I just want, here's a kind
I'm sorry. I know.
We are
You have
hating on
nothing
every
to be
word.
sorry for. It was great.
Yeah, you're fantastic. There's no apologies. The responses we're getting from our audience love what you have to say. They're begging, is there going to be a replay? Is it being videoed? Yes. So you're fantastic. Curious, we have a question from Max. Where do you think your largest support is coming from?
Like
general,
financial
like, like demographically, what's the biggest support?
I'm not sure I know how to answer that question. Largest support is coming from, well, yeah, I'm not sure I understand the question.
In other words, the demographic, is it younger people? Is it older people? Is it former Democrats? Is it Christians? Is it atheists? You know, what's the mix?
Got it. Sorry.
Okay.
So I would say that the truth is that it depends largely on whatever the cultural issue is that's happening at the time. Okay. So here's an example. when Brett Kavanaugh was being attacked, and that went on for weeks, and they had the hearings, and we all remember how awful that was. We had another huge wave of people join WalkAway. And what was so fascinating about it, and I don't even really, from a scientific point of view, understand why or what it means, it was so many older people. And like one of them was literally, she was like 93 years old who joined WalkAway, and it was amazing. She wrote a testimonial, and she said, I have been volunteering for the Democratic Party since I was 13 years old. And she was like, I'm in my 90s now. And she said, after what I have just seen with this Brett Kavanaugh thing, she's like, this is not the party that I was a part of my whole life. I'm done. And there were so many people in their 50s, their 60s and 70s that were making testimonials during that time. Now, what we're seeing right now with the Black Lives Matter and all of the Antifa and the violence and we're getting tons of people in their 20s, which is incredible. That's exactly what we need. But if you go to WalkAway right now, and for anyone who doesn't, please join the WalkAway group on Facebook. You'll absolutely, even if you didn't walk away, you can still read the testimonials and enjoy the videos. Just it'll make your day to see these stories, read these stories, watch these videos. So many people now in their 20s joining the movement because of what's happening right now. So it really shifts kind of according to what's going on.
Thank you.
Fantastic. Well, Brandon, I want to thank you so very much for coming on with us. It's great to see you here on the Zoom call. When things, calm down and we're able to do live events, we're going to do one with you and have you come out and, rock it and have a big crowd. But thanks for being here. I just wanted to say, in closing, in this crazy time, it's really comforting to know that the WalkAway campaign is fighting so hard alongside of JRA and many others to save the country. We are working together on some events, so maybe later this year, but now more than ever, we need to fight together, and we will. We're going to be sending out a link to everyone that we recorded this great Zoom call, and so it could be seen by thousands of people. And I know it's going to make a difference to hear your words. We're also excited that next Friday, we're happy to announce that Larry Elder is going to be joining us, and he'll be talking about his new film that's out. It's called Uncle Tom, and you can even go to uncletom.com to watch it before the event. So until we meet again, everybody, thank you for being here. Looking forward to seeing you soon, and Shabbat Shalom, everybody. Bye.
Take care. Thank you, Brandon.
You're very welcome. You're very welcome. Could I say one quick last thing?
Sure.
Yes, please do.
Sorry, just one quick last thing. For everyone watching, please, I would encourage you to join the WalkAway campaign group on Facebook. Give me a follow on social media at Brandon Straka. And please feel free to attend it's a free virtual event this coming Thursday at 2 p.m. Eastern. It's called Hope Triumphs, America's Coming Back, with me and Lara Trump. And it's going to be just a really great, uplifting, optimistic, feel-good event where we just talk about all the things we have to feel good about and look forward to right now in this country. And I think we really need some positivity right now. So please come and be a part of that. We would love to have all of you. And you can find out more information about that on my
Melissa. I think we're going to be doing like a hosting watch party. She's going to set us up to do that. So.
And Brandon, I want you to know that thank you again to Mark Whitauer. He put all the links you mentioned are in the chat for everyone to see.
Awesome. Thanks, Mark. Well, I love you guys, and I can't wait to come out and do a live event with you, hopefully sooner rather than later. So,
and we'll hug. We'll actually hug.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
All right.
Goodbye, everybody. Shabbat Shalom. Take care.
Shabbat
Thank you,
Shalom,
Brandon.
everybody. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Thank you.